On that lazy spring afternoon, sunlight filtered through the treetops, casting dappled shadows on the corridor of my home. I, Aiden, returned from school early, thinking the house would be empty, only to unexpectedly uncover a secret. My steps were light, and I was looking forward to enjoying a peaceful moment. The house was quiet, with only the ticking of the clock and the faint sound of the wind from afar. I tiptoed into the living room, planning to grab a snack from the kitchen. However, a faint sound caught my attention. It was soft, yet distinct, like a whisper or a muffled moan. I stopped in my tracks, a strange curiosity welling up inside me. The sound was coming from my stepmother, Melissa's room. Her door was slightly ajar, and through the gap, I could see a corner of the bed. I knew I should turn away, but curiosity drove me to edge closer. My line of sight pierced the crack in the door, and there was Melissa, lying on the bed with her body slightly arched, eyes closed, and an indescribable expression on her face. At that moment, I seemed to be frozen, unable to move. Melissa was immersed in her own world, her fingers gently moving, emitting soft moans. I felt a wave of heat rush through me, my heart pounding, and my breathing becoming rapid. I knew I should leave, but my feet seemed nailed to the floor. Just as I was about to turn away, Melissa opened her eyes. I was startled, thinking she would be angry, but her gaze held no anger, only a deep, fiery light. Her voice was soft and alluring. "Come in, Aiden." I hesitated for a moment, but eventually I was drawn into the room by the sound of her voice. My heart pounded like a drum, each step feeling unusually heavy. Melissa didn't speak, just looked at me with her deep eyes. I felt an inexplicable mix of tension and excitement. She gently took my hand, guiding me closer to her body. I could feel the warmth of her skin, her heartbeat resonating with my touch. "Don't be afraid," she whispered, her voice carrying a comforting tenderness. I nodded, though my heart was filled with anxiety and uncertainty. She led my hand, teaching me to move in sync with her, each touch like an electric current through my body. Time seemed to slow down, the outside world disappearing, leaving just the two of us in the room, sharing this forbidden moment. Melissa pulled me closer, her breath warm and urgent, her lips brushing against my ear, murmuring, "Stay with me." Her request sent my heart racing. I knew it was an invitation I couldn't refuse. We fell into a deep kiss, all tension and passion releasing in that moment. Melissa's kiss was gentle yet powerful, and I felt our connection deepening. The kiss, the embrace, seemed to unleash all the suppressed emotions between us. When everything calmed down, we sat quietly, our breathing gradually returning to normal. Melissa's head rested on my shoulder, and I held her tightly, feeling the peace and intimacy of the moment. The sunlight outside began to fade. The room bathed in the soft glow of twilight as we immersed ourselves in this sudden secret moment, unsure of what the future held. But for now, we were together. Sunlight seeped through the gaps in the curtains, casting a golden halo on Melissa's face. Her eyelashes cast a faint shadow on her cheeks, trembling slightly with her breath. I gazed at her, a whirlwind of complex emotions within me. Her beauty, her tenderness, her strength, all intertwined in this moment, irresistible to me. Melissa lifted her head, her eyes meeting mine. Her eyes sparkled with an unfathomable light, as if they could see into my soul, touching my deepest secrets. She reached out, gently caressing my cheek, the temperature of her fingertips sending a shiver through me. "What are you thinking?" she asked softly, a hint of inquiry in her voice. I hesitated, unsure of how to respond. My heart was filled with conflict and confusion, unsure of how to face this sudden shift. Melissa seemed to sense my hesitation, her smile filled with understanding and acceptance. "It's okay," she said. We don't need to figure everything out right now." Her words brought me a sliver of comfort, but the conflict within me did not subside. I knew that what had happened that afternoon had forever changed the dynamics between us, and I was unsure how to face this new reality. Melissa stood up, walked over to the window, and pulled back the curtains, allowing sunlight to flood the room. Her silhouette was soft in the light, as if merging with the surroundings. She turned and extended her hand towards me. "Come," she said. "Let's stop thinking about those complicated matters and just enjoy this moment." I rose to my feet, approached her, and took her hand. Her touch was warm and firm, offering an inexplicable sense of security. We exchanged a smile before stepping out of the room together, venturing into the unknown future. As time went on, the relationship between Melissa and me became increasingly complex. We tried to bury the events of that afternoon deep within our hearts, but we both knew that some things, once they happen, cannot go back to how they were. Our relationship was filled with secrets and taboos, making our interactions tense and thrilling. We began to cautiously explore each other's world, each touch full of the unknown and adventure. It was like we were playing a dangerous game, each step filled with uncertainty and risk. Our bodies and souls intertwined that night, creating a story that belonged only to us. Melissa's hand gently glided across my cheek, her fingers leaving a trail of tenderness on my skin. Her breath was warm and moist, each exhale sending a shiver down my spine. I closed my eyes, immersing myself in this unprecedented experience. In this private space, we created a world that was only ours. Our laughter, whispers, and breaths intertwined, forming a unique symphony. That night, we forgot everything outside and focused only on each other's presence, immersed in the passion and desire we collectively created. As the first rays of sunlight filtered through the curtains, I knew that this night had forever changed us. Our relationship could never go back to what it was before. The secrets and passion of this night would forever remain in our memories. I looked at Melissa, her eyes gleaming with satisfaction and exhaustion. We slept entwined until the morning light woke us, beginning a new day. That night, the three of us experienced an adventure like no other. Each touch, each kiss, was an exploration of this new world. Our bodies and souls intertwined that night, creating a story that belonged only to us. That night, we forgot everything outside and focused only on each other's presence, immersed in the passion and desire we collectively created. As the light of dawn gradually brightened, Melissa and I realized that the night was over. But this new relationship had just begun. We sat quietly by the bed, cuddling each other, our hearts filled with uncertainty about the future and a deep attachment to each other. Melissa's fingers gently played with the corner of my shirt, a small gesture that revealed her nervousness and unease. "What are we going to do?" she asked softly, her voice trembling slightly. I held her hand tightly, trying to offer her comfort and strength. "I don't know," I replied, my voice equally deep and uncertain. "But we will face it together." Our eyes met again, and I saw the fear and hope in Melissa's eyes. This secret had bound us tightly together. Our relationship was no longer a simple stepmother and stepson, but had become more complex and profound. Melissa took a deep breath, seemingly trying to calm herself. "We need time," she said, as if to convince herself. "Yes, time will give us the answers," I responded, despite the doubts in my heart. We slowly got up, straightened our clothes, and tried to return to how we were before. But we both knew that some things had changed and were irreversible. Melissa walked over to the mirror, combing her long hair, and I stood behind her, gazing at our reflections. In this peaceful morning, our shadows intertwined in the mirror, as if foretelling that our destinies were now intertwined. We left the room and returned to the path of our daily lives, each of us carrying a secret known only to the two of us. Everything at home seemed the same as usual. But for us, everything was different. We prepared breakfast in the kitchen, our movements skilled and in sync, just like countless other mornings. But this morning, every touch was filled with new meaning. Every smile hid deeper emotions. After breakfast, Melissa cleared the dishes, and I watched her quietly. We didn't talk about what had just happened, but I knew that this secret would be an eternal bond between us. Our relationship had crossed boundaries and entered new territory, and we both had to face this fact. As I finally left home for school, I felt an unprecedented sense of confusion and anxiety. My heart was filled with longing for Melissa, worry about the future, and deep bewilderment about what had just happened. The sunlight shone on my face, but I felt a chill. I knew that my life had changed forever, and I had to find a way to deal with this new reality.